We are now joined by Leo from Redlight Finance. How you doing, Leo?
Yeah, good. Really good to be here. Thanks for asking.
I not only sprung the intro on you, but also we were going to be speaking to someone else and now speaking to you, so I sprung the whole interview on you. So, good luck.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so really good. Obviously Alice couldn't be here, so I've stepped in. So I'll be running the interview, so it should be good.
No worries, it's a good chat. So, folks who have not encountered Redlight before, what is it you guys do?
Yeah, so Redlight Finance we are basically a Web3 total ecosystem. So basically we stepped in a couple of different industries, mainly with the backbone of gasless blockchain, and everything is built on top of that. So for example, we have our own NFT marketplace, which is called Midnight Trades. We have our own decentralized exchange, which is called Dawn Swap, and we have a couple of other protocols that are on there, which are passive income protocols. And then we have our partners. So for example, one of them's here today, which is Simon from iMetaverse. That's a game-orientated, I guess, could kind of think of it as a games hub. So, and that's all based around NFTs in that regard. So, but in essence, yeah, we're a full ecosystem based off Web3 and blockchain technology.
So the gasless element, the idea of it being fee transactions, and which is obviously something that will be attractive to a lot of people. I know in reading the site that it talks about maybe that allowing other systems, like for example the healthcare system and maybe non-profit organizations being able to use it. How do you go about providing gasless transactions in a world that requires gas?
Yeah, so I guess it's a new concept. Everyone obviously in the crypto industry knows what gas is. So we managed to ascertain with Alex's knowledge as well as our own in-house developers to develop our gasless blockchain. Now, you've touched on it already now. So some of the biggest industries that we can go into, for example, is like not-for-profit, healthcare systems. But just having the blockchain alone doesn't enable, I guess, a full integration with those kind of systems. What you would need to do is we have something coming out, it's called Redlight Private Networks, which as some people might not know, or most people know, blockchain technology is a public system. So whatever's on the blockchain, anybody who can read blockchain explorers or look at transactions can see that. With businesses, for example, they want obviously their information to be private. So what we've developed on the back of our gasless blockchain is Redlight Private Networks. What that does is utilize our gasless blockchain technology, but making it into a privatized system. So industries like healthcare, even managed services, military example, those kind of industries can utilize blockchain technology, the security that it provides, the speed and the scalability, but also having that privatized for themselves. So their blockchain is not accessible to the general public, so they utilize it themselves. So it's basically having their own kind of cloud service that they currently have with servers, but totally blockchain based. So that's where we're going with that. Then also on the other side, which is what we're here for now, is the Gamify industry. So, with games, there's a lot of transactions that happen, a lot of users in the traditional gaming sense, they don't understand crypto. So what we're doing is we're providing a seamless experience with gasless transactions. So yes, they know what an approve button is, but they don't need to know what the gas does and stuff like that. They just know it moves something from A to B. Now, in going forward even further than that, some of the developments that we have is our RNS system, which is Redlight Name Service. So what that is, it gives the users, so we'll go with the gamers for now, a username or a domain, which doubles as the actual wallet address, so that can store their NFTs, any kind of currencies or tokens that they play any kind of games on the blockchain. Now, the good thing about this is it works traditionally like a username. So for example, mine would be like leo.redlc, and I could transfer, for example, inventory items, which are NFTs, to my friend, which might be michael.redlc. So that seamless experience that they normally use with user accounts is still there, but it's backed by blockchain technology. So they might not actually know about it, and they don't need to, but if they want to venture further, the good thing is we can be like, yeah, you actually are integrated into crypto. This is how it works for further information and go through it. But if not, they can just stick to what they do normally with a username, profile normally.
What's the biggest point of friction you feel at this point to people adopting blockchain as a thing? Is it a case of people not seeing the ideological use for it? There's a difference there in terms of in principle, I don't understand this, I object to it. Or do you think it's simply people find it a little bit opaque and weird to get their head around what it actually is and the function of it, this use case?
I think there's a mixture of a couple of things. So, for example, the media portrays crypto as kind of a get-rich kind of scheme, a lot of scams, a lot of I guess big businesses taking advantage of uninformed investors and things like that. So you take example the Terra Luna crash, and then you take example of FTX, for example. So these are very well-known, protocols in that industry, and they got caught out doing bad things. So there's kind of a bit of stigma there, and that very much applies to businesses. Businesses kind of, they look at that and they look at the bad media and they go, ooh, and kind of don't want to touch that. But then there's also that factor that you talked about is the unknown factor. Obviously going into Web3, blockchain and stuff like that, it can be a little bit daunting to learn about how it works. But if you simplify it down, the education piece is something you really need to drive home. I think if a lot of the companies in the Web3 space or blockchain space or crypto space spend a bit more time on education and stuff like that, I think the adoption will be a lot faster. Now, I had a couple of meetings with some of the game developers, and they talked about, how do we get mass adoptability and stuff like that? And that's one of the things where I was saying with our RNS system is to kind of keep things the way it is, but integrate it on the back end so people, they, are utilizing what they know, but then you can slowly add elements and go, oh guys, did you know that, the game stuff, the game inventory items or the things that you've been collecting in game, they're actually NFTs. What NFTs are, non-fungible tokens, they can actually do this. They're actually based on a blockchain, and you can slowly drip drab information so people can uptake it. And then they're like, oh, actually, this is really good. That means the items that I have in game can be transferred, onto the secondary market, traded, sold, or, traded with my friends, whatever it might be, or they can be utilized like with our partner, My Metaverse, where that NFT, in one game might not translate to something in another, but it still gives value to another game. So, for example, if I finished a game, what a lot of people tend to do, in another game, those items that I've collected can still be transported across. Might not have the same worth, but they have some kind of currency or, switchability into another game. So there's a lot of flexibility with blockchain technology. I think it's just really education that it comes down to, as well as, just getting the foot through the door with some game developers or some industries to actually adopt that, take the risk a little bit. Obviously, educated risk, decision, things like that, and then really go from there. So that's how I feel the industry should tackle it, and I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
Well, if you were to come up against someone who was like, I don't see the point of this, or I'm sitting on the fence about it, or what's the thing that you would say to get them over? What's the easiest way to be like, look, this is what it is, come on over, the water's nice. Like, how would you do it?
I think, one of the biggest things about blockchain is security. So blockchain itself, very secure, probably one of the most secure things that you can do. What tends to happen is there's either a problem at the front end from the user sending something or the back end where it's receiving. But the blockchain technology itself is very secure. That's why, governments, military and stuff have looked at blockchain technology. But the problem is they're like, how do we get it so it can be scaled or it can be adopted that everybody can kind of use it? So you think about it like there's been heaps of cases, for example, like Tornado Cash, I'll take as an example. A lot of, shady characters, even governments got caught using Tornado Cash because of the actual functionality that it had. So, for example, we would send crypto, which is anonymous, it doesn't have an identity attached to it, apart from a wallet address. What happens is it mixes it around and it spits it out saying it came from a different place. So there's a lot of, the security and the information and the technology that blockchain, crypto and stuff actually has is really, really good talking points. But I think one of the things, like I highlighted before, is the education point of view. And I think one of the other portions of this is NFTs now are not just art, for example. They actually have, a greater functionality. So, for example, in-game, like I was mentioning before, they can have attributes and stuff, what changes your character, whether it's skins and stuff like that. So those kind of things where I would say to somebody is like, hey, look, if you had a game where you finished everything, like I mentioned an example before, but you could carry that over to the next game that you might play. So your playability across the Web3 space is greatly enhanced. And that's something that developers actually look at. Game developers, they go, how can we make our game or our game house have better playability? Like, how do we players keep playing it all the time? They bring out new releases, DLCs and stuff like that. What if we said, hey, instead of doing that, you could make a whole new game, or you could transport it across 3 or 4 different games, NFTs that could be used across that. Therefore, the playability across those 3 or 4 games, all you'd have to do is release a new NFT collection. An NFT, for example, could be a new boss, or it could be, new weapons, new skins and stuff like that. So you don't have to change a whole game architecture. You could just redeploy NFTs.